y'all crying? These street niggas. Why everybody sound like they sad? These street niggas, that's what they do. No, we supposed to be congratulating them on making it to jail. Good job, bro. You made it to prison, bro. You a real street one now. You a real gangster now. When the feds come get you like that, and they roll up on you with the headset, with the helmet, with the Navy SEAL uniform, with the big gun, go like this, a papa.
Just weeks after walking out of federal prison a free man, Lil Zay Osama is back behind bars, this time facing a federal robbery conspiracy charge that could put him away for years. The feds just snatched him up, and the rap community is watching in disbelief, because this is not a first offense. This is not even a second offense. This is a man who has been arrested multiple times across multiple states, who has stood in federal court and promised a judge he understood the consequences, and somehow ended up right back in handcuffs before the ink on his release papers even had time to dry. Behind the music, behind the millions of streams and the designer fits and the Lamborghini rides, Lil Zay Osama has been running a lifestyle so reckless that the feds were never far behind. And the shocking truth of what brought him down this time is more layered and more troubling than anything you have seen in his videos. Yo, what is good, fam? Welcome back to Informed Secreto. Today we are diving deep into the full story of how Lil Zay Osama went from celebrating his freedom on Instagram to getting picked up by federal agents on a robbery conspiracy charge. We are going to break down every arrest, every robbery, every court date, and every moment where this man had a chance to walk away from the street life and chose not to. Stay locked in, because by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why Lil Zay Osama cannot stay out of trouble and what it says about the environment he refuses to leave behind. Now, before we get into this, let me keep it 100 with y'all. There have been a lot of rumors floating around online. People saying the new arrest has not been confirmed, articles saying there is no verified 2026 case. But the streets have been talking. Multiple Chicago-based outlets and social media accounts close to the situation are reporting that Lil Zay Osama is back in federal custody on a robbery conspiracy charge. And when you look at the full body of evidence across his legal history, this arrest does not come out of nowhere. It is the logical conclusion of a pattern that has been building for years. Now, here is what we know for certain. February 2025, Lil Zay Osama, real name Isaiah Dukes, born June 3, 1997 in Chicago, walked out of federal prison after serving 14 months on a machine gun possession charge. He posted on Instagram. He talked about being free. He teased new music. He asked his fans whether they wanted pain or drill, and the internet celebrated with him. Less than a year later, he is reportedly back in federal custody, and this time the charge is robbery conspiracy. Hold up before y'all start thinking this is just the feds picking on a successful black rapper from Chicago. The documented record here is long and specific. This is not a story about profiling. This is a story about a man who built a career documenting the streets but never actually stepped back from them. And the consequences of that choice are now catching up with him in the worst way. Here is where it gets real, so check it. March 13, 2025, Los Angeles, California. A smoke shop on Melrose Avenue called Hubshi. Two videographers get a call. They are told to come out to this location to film a music video. Simple job, straightforward booking. They show up, ready to work, but there is no music video. There never was. The moment those videographers stepped through the door, multiple suspects pulled firearms on them. They were held at gunpoint. They were pistol whipped. One of the victims lost several teeth from the blows. The other suffered a cut to his head that required medical attention. And when the dust settled, the suspects had taken their cameras, their equipment, their jewelry, and their firearms, then disappeared into the LA night. Now in the hood, we know that luring somebody somewhere under false pretenses is one of the oldest setups in the book. You create a situation where the victim has no reason to be suspicious. You use something they want, money, a job, an opportunity, to get them into a position where they cannot defend themselves. It is calculated, it is organized, and the fact that the victims were videographers, working people trying to get a bag from a legitimate gig, makes this even harder to watch. After the robbery, the suspects split into two vehicles, a yellow Lamborghini Urus and a black BMW. Now let that sink in for a minute. These are not people who robbed because they needed money for food. A Lamborghini Urus starts at around $230,000. This is a choice. This is a lifestyle. This is a group of men who have money and still cannot stop taking from others. Police tracked the Lamborghini about 30 minutes later into the San Fernando Valley. A chase ensued. The pursuit went on for close to 40 minutes before California Highway Patrol officers and Ventura County Sheriff's deputies took two suspects into custody in Santa Rosa Valley. 6 more suspects, including including the individuals in the black BMW, remained at large, and the LAPD confirmed that one of the 8 suspects believed to be involved in the robbery was Lil Zay Osama, rapper from Chicago. But here is where it gets real spicy, because the Melrose Avenue robbery is not the first time Lil Zay Osama's name has come up in connection with this kind of crime. Not even close. Let us go back to December 2023, Chicago, Illinois. Law enforcement receives a tip that a blue Dodge vehicle is connected to a man involved in an armed robbery of a jewelry store in New York City. Not just any jewelry store. The victim was Benny Nisanoff, known in the industry as Benny Da Jeweler, whose clients have included some of the biggest names in hip-hop. The robbery happened on December 7, 2023, at approximately 1:30 in the morning at a pop-up shop in Manhattan. 2 armed men broke in, threatened to shoot, and made off with a chain valued at $1 million. Now here is what the investigators noticed. 4 days before that robbery, Lil Zay Osama had appeared in an Instagram video on Benny Da Jeweler's own page. He was posing with jewelry. He was wearing an impressive necklace. And when police caught up with Lil Zay Osama in the Chicago suburb of Oak Brook, after a high-speed chase involving the CPD Vehicular Hijacking Task Force, a federal helicopter, and the CPD Air Unit, he was wearing a necklace valued at approximately $90,000 that investigators believed was connected to that New York heist. Let that sink in. He allegedly participated in robbing a jeweler and then wore the stolen chain in public. When police finally stopped the blue Dodge, they found a loaded Glock 29 with a laser sight, an extended magazine, and a switch device converting it into a machine gun. They also found a loaded Glock 19 with a 50-round drum magazine and a defaced serial number. 3 men were taken into custody that night. Lil Zay Osama was charged with possession of a loaded machine gun, theft of stolen goods valued between $10,000 and $100,000, and possession of a firearm with a defaced serial number. The DuPage County State's attorney said that these men, none of whom were legally allowed to own a firearm, were heavily armed, led authorities on a high-speed chase during rush hour in the middle of the holiday shopping season. That is the company Lil Zay Osama keeps. That is who he moves with. Now let us talk about what life looked like before December 2023, because the story goes back much further than that. January 2023, Chicago. Lil Zay Osama is arrested again on separate weapons charges. This is the arrest where his mugshot went viral across social media. People were laughing at the photo, but behind that image was a man who had already survived being shot in the chest at 15 years old, who had already served time in a juvenile detention center, and who was now adding another charge to a file that was getting thicker by the year. September 2022, New York City. Lil Zay Osama takes a rideshare from a luxury hotel in Manhattan to a recording studio in Queens. When the Uber driver drops him off and parks to clean the back seat, he finds a loaded Glock 22 40 caliber pistol with a switch device, converting it from a semi-automatic weapon into a fully automatic machine gun, left behind in the vehicle. The driver reports it. Police field test it. The ATF confirms it. The gun can automatically fire more than 1 round with a single pull of the trigger. Under federal law, that makes it a machine gun. Lil Zay Osama is arrested. He posts bail, reportedly posting a $1 million bond. 2 months later, he goes on Instagram and claims the case has been dismissed. He calls out DJ Academics for reporting on it. He moves on like it never happened. But federal prosecutors do not forget. They refiled. In January 2024, a Brooklyn federal grand jury handed down a 2-count indictment: possession of a machine gun and possession of an unregistered firearm. Maximum exposure, 20 years in federal prison. By the time that indictment dropped, he was already locked up in Illinois on the Oak Brook charges. The feds were essentially standing in line. May 2024, Lil Zay Osama pleads guilty. Standing before a federal magistrate judge, he says the words, "I knowingly possessed a firearm that was a machine gun in Queens County on September 29, 2022. I know that it was wrong and against the law." His lawyers pushed for 7 months, citing the dangerous and deteriorating conditions inside Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, a facility where 2 inmates were fatally stabbed within weeks of each other over the summer. Prosecutors pushed for 27 months. The judge sentenced him to 14 months, plus a $10,000 fine. And on top of all of that, there were still outstanding warrants from Wisconsin, additional gun charges that prosecutors noted when they argued he had shown little regard for the law. February 2025, Lil Zay Osama walks out of prison, posts on Instagram, "Feel good to be free," tags his girlfriend's YouTube channel, talks about dropping new music. The comments fill up with love. His lawyer, in the words of one fan on social media, "must be a bulldog." March 2025, he is allegedly connected to a robbery of videographers in Los Angeles involving a yellow Lamborghini and a crew of 8. 2026, federal agents reportedly pick him up on a robbery conspiracy charge. The cycle has completed itself in less than 12 months. Now, before we go deeper, let me address what Lil Zay Osama himself has said publicly. Because in past arrests, this man has never been shy about speaking directly to his audience. When he got the 14-month sentence in November 2024, he went on Instagram stories and addressed the rumors that were circulating. People online were claiming he got 30 years. He shut that down directly. He said, "Stop believing everything you hear or see on the internet." And then he acknowledged, in his own words, "I caught a blessing." He knew it. He was staring down 20 years and walked away with 14 months. He called it a blessing. He said he knew it was wrong. He promised a federal judge he understood. And when he got out in February 2025, he was posting about new music, about his girlfriend, about being free. He sounded like a man who had plans. He sounded like someone who recognized the second chance he had been given, which is what makes the reported 2026 arrest so difficult to process, because the man who said, "I caught a blessing" in November 2024 is the same man who was allegedly riding with a crew of 8 to a fake music video robbery in LA just 3 months after his release. The man who stood in front of a federal judge and said, "I know it was wrong and against the law," is the same man now reportedly facing a federal robbery conspiracy charge. Real talk, that is not a man who was ambushed by circumstances. That is a man who made a choice, and the question of why he made that choice is more important than the charge itself. Now let us talk about the elephant in the room. Because when people hear about an arrest like this, the first question is always, why? Why would somebody do this? Why would a man who just spent over a year in federal prison, who just got out and was posting about being free and making music, why would he allegedly go right back to the same behavior inside of 12 months? The real kicker though is this: Lil Zay Osama is not broke. He has millions of streams. He has label backing. He has merch, features, shows. He has enough money to drive a Lamborghini Urus to a robbery. This is not poverty pushing him back into crime. So what is it? Real talk. The answer is the people around him. For y'all who might not understand how this works in the street culture, let me explain. There is a term that has been circulating in Chicago circles for a long time: crash dummies. It refers to people who move recklessly, who take unnecessary risks, who do not think about long-term consequences. They are loyal in the moment, they are fun to be around, they keep the energy up, but they will also get you life in prison. When a man grows up in the Robert Taylor homes on the south side of Chicago, when he joins a gang at 12 years old, when he gets shot at 15, when he is incarcerated through his teenage years, the people who become his family are the people who were there through all of that. And those bonds are not broken by a record deal or a YouTube check. Lil Zay Osama has spoken openly in his music and interviews about the trauma of his upbringing. His father was in and out of jail his entire childhood. His mother was the only consistent parent. He grew up watching violence. He wrote rap in a juvenile detention center as a way to process all of it. When he came out, he channeled that pain into music and built a real following. Hundreds of millions of streams, major label attention, collaborations with G Herbo, Lil Durk, and Lil J. He proved he had the talent to make it out, but making it out financially is not the same as making it out mentally. And the evidence here suggests that Lil Zay Osama never fully separated himself from the crew. He kept moving with the same people. He kept operating in the same streets, and those streets kept pulling him back. Look at the pattern across his arrests. This is not a solo operation. The December 2023 arrest involved multiple men in that vehicle. The March 2025 Melrose Avenue robbery allegedly involved 8 suspects. The federal robbery conspiracy charge in 2026 is a conspiracy charge, meaning multiple people, organized activity, a coordinated plan. This is a man surrounded by people who normalize the lifestyle. And when everyone around you thinks this is just how you move, guns, chains, setups, chases, then it starts to feel normal to you too, even when you have $1 million in your bank account. Now, this is where we got to address something real. There is a version of this conversation that just writes Lil Zay Osama off as a criminal and moves on. And I am not here for that, fam, because the full picture is more complicated and more tragic than that. This man was shot in the chest at 15. He was incarcerated through some of the most formative years of his life. He came from a neighborhood, Bronzeville, Robert Taylor Homes, where the life expectancy for young black men is a fraction of what it should be, and where the question was never whether you would encounter violence, but when. He built something real from that pain. He built a career that millions of people connect with because they recognize that pain in his music. And then he threw it away, multiple times.
I'm in the church, baby. Whenever you up in LA, make sure you pull up and come fuck with my people at the street packs. They got all the best gas, man, all flavors. And this shit can pull up at your doorstep, man. Come fuck with my people, the street packs, man. Let's do it.
And the question that keeps coming up when you look at his case is whether he ever truly believed he deserved the life he built. Because sometimes the hardest thing for men who come up the way he did is not earning success. It is accepting that they are allowed to keep it, that they do not need to keep proving something, that the streets do not require their continued participation just because they were born into them. The Lamborghini at a robbery scene is the symbol of that contradiction. You have the money, you do not need the chain you are stealing. But the mindset that drove you to make the music, the survival instinct, the loyalty to the crew, the refusal to let go of who you were, is the same mindset that puts you back in handcuffs. Now let us break down what y'all need to understand about a federal robbery conspiracy charge. Under the Hobbs Act, which federal prosecutors use for robbery cases, a conviction can carry a sentence of up to 20 years. If a firearm was used during the commission of the offense, and given Lil Zay Osama's prior federal conviction for machine gun possession, prosecutors have significant leverage. Federal judges are not required to follow the same guidelines they might follow for a first-time offender. Lil Zay Osama is not a first-time offender. He is a man with an existing federal conviction who is now allegedly back in front of the same system. More importantly, federal conspiracy charges allow prosecutors to charge someone for the actions of their co-conspirators. You do not have to be the one who pulled the trigger, held the gun, or took the jewelry. If you planned it, if you participated in setting it up, if you were part of the scheme, you are liable for the full scope of the conspiracy. That means the Lamborghini chase, the pistol whipping, the teeth that victim lost, all of that becomes part of Lil Zay Osama's legal exposure if prosecutors can establish he was part of organizing that robbery. Now add to that the fact that he is still facing unresolved charges in Wisconsin. Add to that the prior federal gun conviction. Add to that the pattern of conduct going back to 2022. Federal prosecutors are going to walk into court with a file that tells a very specific story. This is a man who has repeatedly, consciously, and deliberately chosen to engage in criminal activity despite multiple opportunities to stop. That is a hard story to overcome in front of a federal judge. And fam, we should not skip over this either. In April 2025, just 2 months after his prison release, Lil Zay Osama's ex-girlfriend released a video online alleging assault. He denied the allegations in an Instagram live session. No charges were publicly filed in connection with that specific incident. But what it tells us is that from the moment he got out of prison in February 2025 to the moment he was allegedly back in federal custody in 2026, essentially every major headline connected to his name involved either criminal allegations or legal drama. The man had less than 12 months of freedom, and he could not get through a single month of it without controversy. The real question is, where does Lil Zay Osama go from here? Because on paper, the situation is dire. If the federal robbery conspiracy charges are confirmed and he goes to trial, he is looking at a significant sentence in front of a judge who will have his full record in front of them. The prior 14-month federal sentence that his lawyer fought down to almost nothing, that does not help him this time. Prior federal convictions weigh heavily in sentencing guidelines. The government is not going to offer the same leniency twice. His music catalog is still out there. Changed Up still has over 20 million views. People still rock with his story. And in the era of artists dropping music from prison, we have seen it before with multiple Chicago artists. There is a version of the future where Lil Zay Osama's music gets even more attention because of his legal situation. Tragedy sells in this industry, pain sells, and nobody in Chicago drill has more documented pain than Isaiah Dukes. But let us be honest with each other. That is not the version of success he was building toward. The version where you get out of prison, you make music, you build a legacy, you go see your people without worrying about federal agents. That version requires a different set of decisions than the ones that put him back in handcuffs. Let me break down for y'all something that does not get talked about enough in these conversations. When an artist with Lil Zay Osama's level of exposure keeps cycling through the federal system, it sends a message. Not just to him, but to every young artist coming up behind him who is watching and trying to figure out the code. Because there are kids in Chicago right now who listen to his music, who see his story as the blueprint, come from the trenches, get a deal, blow up, stay real. And the stay real part is the one that keeps getting people killed or locked up. Because somewhere along the way, staying real got twisted into staying in the streets. Like you owe the hood something. Like success is only valid if you keep doing the same things you were doing before you had anything. And that is not loyalty. That is self-destruction dressed up as authenticity. Lil Zay Osama did not owe anybody another robbery. He did not owe his crew a Lamborghini chase through Ventura County. He did not owe the streets his freedom, but the culture around him, the crash dummies, the people who have nothing to lose because they never had anything. They normalized it. They made it feel like standing down was the same thing as standing down on your people, and he bought into it. Over and over again. The artists who actually make it out, and I mean really make it out, not just financially, but in terms of surviving long enough to see their kids grow up, they are the ones who eventually draw that line, who sit down with their crew and say, I love y'all, but I cannot be in that car. I cannot be in that smoke shop. I cannot be on that chase because I know what the end of that road looks like, and I am done. Lil Zay Osama never drew that line, and now the federal government is drawing it for him. At the end of the day, his situation is not just about a robbery. It is not just about a Lamborghini chase through the San Fernando Valley, or a machine gun left in an Uber, or a chain allegedly taken from a New York jeweler. It is about the fact that in this culture, in this era, there is still no clear roadmap for how a man from the conditions Lil Zay grew up in is supposed to fully detach from the world that shaped him, especially when that world is still the source of the authenticity that makes his music connect. The streets gave him his story, the streets gave him his voice, and the streets keep taking everything back. For y'all keeping up with the full legal picture, the feds are not playing. This is a man who has stood before a federal judge before, paid his fine, served his time, and walked back out into the same situation. The system will not treat this as a learning curve. They will treat it as confirmation of exactly what they always believed about him. And the saddest part? He had the money to choose differently. He had the talent to choose differently. He had the fans, the platform, the label support. He had a lawyer who fought like a bulldog to keep him out of a 20-year sentence and got him down to 14 months. He had every tool available to build something that outlasted the streets. What he did not have, or at least what the evidence suggests he did not have, was a circle of people willing to tell him, bro, you do not need to do this anymore. You have already made it. You can let the streets go. That is the real story here, fam. Not just the arrests, not just the charges, but the gap between what this man had and what he chose, and what that choice is going to cost him. What are your thoughts on Lil Zay Osama's situation and where his career goes from here? Drop your comments below. And for more deep dives into the stories the culture is talking about, tap the video on screen right now.